UnitsPro, we organize design data by location and location details. When you have an import file from a customer, we can go ahead and select our import, add that file to the system, and then parse it out. In the parsing process, we want to make sure that this is a editable, selectable file that's been specifically designed by UnitsPro to work with your customer. We go next. This icon changes to parsing down here. And right now we're going through that PDF using a scraper program and trying to pull out all the location information. So here you can see we've done so. Up through location 87, and it's gone ahead and indicated the point information and the type. We're satisfied with that, or we can say we don't want that included in our estimate if that work is to be performed by another work group or such. We go next, it's going to go ahead and pull the data for each location into UnitsPro and validate that those units have been previously entered into UnitsPro and mapped to billable hours and dollars. If we had units that came in here that were not previously mapped, we would get a message telling us what we needed to do here. We also have the ability, as we did with locations, is to go through and say we don't need this or this MU initially imported. If we had units down here that had the message that needed to be mapped, there'd be a button down here that said map specifications, and the user would be able to enter those and map them or forward them to their UnitsPro account representative to map for them. Once you're satisfied with this information, we hit next. And we're now going through and moving this data from some temporary tables where we managed all this information initially into the actual job design, where it can be initially priced and then modified as necessary by the work group to develop their final bid values. So we've got a little over 1,000 units here, actually 1,176 units that were just imported across 87 locations. So we're satisfied with that. We'll go ahead and close it. And this is opening up the actual design transaction now. Takes a little time, but if you're going to do this by hand, I would suspect it's going to take several days to move this data from a PDF document into a database where you can manage it. So here we go, all of our location data and all of the individual design elements that the owner had spec'd out in their initial design. So rather than your estimators having to start from scratch and figure out, okay, what do I have to do at each location, and many work groups estimating systems will go through and say, hey, we're going to have some sort of a compatible unit system schema where our estimator needs to go down through and come up with that logic for every one of these units. And again, it can take many hours to several days to do. So we're going to go ahead and begin this design. And so this is now fetching all of our standard hours and dollars for every one of these units, bringing it into the system, pricing it, and it says right off the bat here we've got 2,800 hours on this job and $462,000. We can take a look at any one of these elements to see what our pricing is for each of these. Make sure that that's consistent. double check and make sure everything is priced as we deem it to be. We can then go into our locations. Once we do a field walk, we know that we have 33 hours for this location. If that is appropriate, we're good. If the workforce believes that we need additional hours there, we go ahead and put a factor in and update our estimate. And this is recalculating all the units at this location to 125%. So it went from 33 hours to 41 hours at this location and adjusted our pricing. We take a look at our global factors. We can adjust across the board. 1.1, we want to increase this, and we're going to work it at a 40-hour pace. So we'll go ahead and readjust that back, update our estimate. Let this chug along. And now we're up to 491,000. So our base hours are 2,800, our factored hours are 3,100, our base dollars are 445. We factored it up to 491. We can take a look at our pricing and see what our pricing per unit is. If we're not satisfied with that, we can go ahead and modify our individual pricing. And often this is used when you're coming up with your best and final pricing for a unit. When you're satisfied with all this, you can lock these units down. And in this case, we're going to lock all of our units down. And we could go ahead and run our estimate reports and enter into internal review with our management. So to take a design that an owner has spent presumably many weeks to months preparing, incorporate that directly into the work group's estimate so that we begin where they ended, and then go through and work to update this and modify these units and report back to them any modifications or changes that we believe are necessary. Add our location factors, i.e. to factor for the difficulty of those individual locations, factor the overall job. It just takes a matter of minutes to come up with a $500,000 bid here.